This is the Scrum Feed, where Paul Deligan and I break down all the latest happenings in the NRL. On today's show, State of Origin rules change. Is Zac Lomax the villain? Daly Cherry-Evans dons the Roosters jumper for the first time this weekend. Siosifa Talakai to become a Perth Bear. The World Club Challenge is imminent. And a few fan questions for Paul Deligan if you wait around long enough. Now, Paul, conspiracy theorists are saying the New South Wales Blues are behind the eligibility changes to State of Origin. What have you got to say about that?
Well, if it means that we get Adnan Fanua-Blake alongside Kane Haas easily, Professor, the two best front rows in the game, I don't care who's behind it if Donald Trump's behind it. I'm all for it. And if they want to play for the state, that is the key ingredient, though. You've got to want to play for New South Wales. We're blessed these days with what we didn't have years ago with these podcasts. And we had Jerome Hughes, who always tells it how it is. He came out and said, you couldn't pay me enough. And wasn't out of disrespect. He didn't feel like he wanted to be pulling on a New South Wales jersey because he loves New Zealand and he loves the Storm, but you can't manufacture a love for somewhere when you've invested so much like he has in the Storm and New Zealand's. I liked his honesty. He was sitting next to Cameron Munster when he said that, and he said the man next to me would die for maroon jerseys. That's the sort of thing you want. You want these players to play. So I would hope they're only picking players after speaking to them and asking if you're going to be passionate about this, because you can't manufacture passion, Professor. Trust me, I've tried.
Now, for those of the viewers who don't know, Paul, the changes to the rules is that previously, Tier 2 countries, players who represented those countries like Tonga or similar, they were able to play State of Origin, but not Tier 1 countries like New Zealand and England. Now, that's going to change.
It is, yeah. You still have to have either been born in one of the two states or live there prior to your 13th birthday. Where it was players like Victor Radley was picking England, ruled him out of State of Origin. You know, Fanua-Blake, born in Mascot, which is Sydney as you can get. So they're the sort of players that I think may want to put on the Blues jersey. Fanua-Blake's already said, even though he captains Tonga, he'd love to play for New South Wales. So there's someone who is committed. And if I was Queensland, I wouldn't be happy either, because he's the second best prop in the game after the man who's just signed for the Rabbitohs paying Mars. So I wouldn't be too happy either if I was a Queensland. They do get AJ Brimson, though, available, who's got English heritage and played for them, and Brighton Nickera from the Sharks. So it's not all bad news for Queensland.
Kalen Ponga, Jerome Luai and Josh Papali too.
Yes, well, there's some decent stars as well. I'm not sure whether they will want to play, but we will see. It's be interesting on all of those, whether they have the necessary passion. And also, two players are very mindful of the impact on their body. The State of Origin they've proven 30% more intense and demanding than a club game. So they've got to factor all that in as well as to how much they want to play.
ARL Commission Chair Peter V'landis said during the week that Zac Lomax has been unfairly painted as a villain. Is that right, Paul?
Well, I wasn't too impressed. He compared the situation to Latrell Mitchell, which the racism and the booing. I think this is a grant for money from Lomax. He put in for Parramatta. No one can deny that. I think on stats, he was their hardest working player last year. I read somewhere. V'landis said he hasn't seen a greater pylon since Mitchell. Yeah, I mean, there's been some pylons in rugby league. Todd Carney at the watering hole, of course. We had the Raiders players with the canine. That was a pylon as well. But yeah, I think they're very different scenarios to what we've got here with Lomax. If the top lawyers in the land, Professor, can't work out what to do, I know you called me a fence sitter, but I think we're going to have to wait for the court to sort this one out, because it's hard to take sides. I can see all perspectives on this one.
I think what's probably driving it, Paul, is that here we've got a player who's asked for a release from his contract 2 years in a row. The first with the Dragons, he asked to get let out of the contract there. Then he stays 1 year with the Eels and says, I want to go and play R360. Surely that's playing into it somewhere, especially with the fans.
And well, if he wasn't such apparently a nice guy and so committed, so yeah, that's where the pile-on, if V'landis wants to call it that, is coming from, the lack of perhaps loyalty. But he saw an opportunity there, like the live golfers, I guess. Do you freeze them out forever? What do you do with that situation? So I can see why V'landis has got the olive branch out, because he wants him back in the game.
After 352 games and 98 tries for Manly at the age of 36, Paul, Daly Cherry-Evans pulls on the Roosters' number 6 jersey for the first time in the pre-season challenge match against the Eels on Saturday night. Schooner is still taking headache medication after Cherry-Evans left.
Well, I know it's on the agenda, but Jamal Fogarty stepping in for Cherry-Evans. I mean, that's like following Pavarotti up on stage and building out Ness and Dormer. It's going to be tough. He's going to have bigger shoes to fill than Ronald McDonald. I think Jamal Fogarty. So I feel for him stepping into that Manly, because that is Cherry-Evans. He is Manly. So I know why the Roosters have done it. They're very smart. They're going to utilise him to mentor Sam Walker. They're going to be very close to my top tip. I might have given something away there for the premiership, but he's going to be amazing to see. And they've done it for a reason. They're no fools at the Roosters. They've got a window of 1 year. So they've done all this, endured all the PR pile-on, if we use that phrase again. They've got a reason for doing this. They're smart folks at the Roosters, much like when they got Cooper Cronk in for that short period. I think it's going to work very well for them.
Take a leaf out of your book, Paul. There's more pylons on this show than at the Manly Wharf.
Yeah, well, that's or Paris roundabout. Anyways.
Now, you did mention former Titans and Raiders halfback Jamal Fogarty. He's going to be teaming up with Luke Brooks in the halves. They're playing your Rabbitohs on Sunday.
They are. I don't have great hopes for Manly this year. Anthony Seibold will have a lot of pressure on him. Apparently, Raiders fans aren't overly upset. I mean, he was a good player, Fogarty, but they're going to replace him just fine. That's not a personal criticism on him, but that combination of him and Luke Brooks isn't going to make anyone quiver in their Stevens, unfortunately, or their Nikes these days. On the boot department, I just can't see that them being too intimidating Manly. I hate to say this, Schooner, but tough times ahead.
Certainly looking forward to having a look at that Roosters-Eels game on Saturday night, Paul. Both teams are almost full strength.
Yes, it will be good to see. And I'm interested as well, the Eels, the Dramas with Lomax. It will be good to watch that and seeing some of these combinations. It looks like they're going all in for the game.
One thing we know for sure about 2027, Paul, is that Sharks second rower Siosifa Talakai won't be running out with the Shire.
No, and we were worried they were going to be called the Perth Quackers if they didn't get a big signing soon. So they've got literally a big signing in Talakai. He's a great player on his day. Just some issues sometimes with the fitness and dependability, but he is their biggest signing. The Sharks have 14 players without a contract. So it's pretty obvious what's happened there. They haven't got the money for Siosifa. So no wonder he's taken this money and literally ran across the country to Perth. You can't really blame him, unfortunately.
Yeah, the rumours are that he's been offered a 3-year deal, which would be good for him. 28 years old, Paul. He started off with your Rabbitohs in 2016, could only manage 11 games over 2 years.
He did. So he's a slow burn, a very slow burn. So he's in his form now, though. But as I said, Sharks have got their priorities. They're probably prioritising some younger players, although they are prioritising the younger players looking to the future at the Sharks. So it would have been a tough call, but they can't match that.
The World Club Challenge, Paul, first played in 1976 between Eastern Suburbs, as they were then, and St Helens at the SCG, a 25-2 scoreline. I think this one's going to be much closer. Hull Kingston Rovers against the Brisbane Broncos at MKM Stadium in Hull.
Well, I did see it's on tomorrow morning, 6:30 our time, so I have to keep an eye on that one. First, I saw it kick off, it'll be about 0 degrees. I think Ben Hunt said he'd be in the dressing room and to text him when he's needed to be required to run out there rather than sitting on the sideline. I think it'd be that cold on the sideline that Danica Mason might even refuse to do a sideline cross. So we'll see.
Well, Sydney Roosters have won the competition 5 times, and with them, the Wigan Warriors, they've been very successful. Wasn't played last year, Paul. Penrith Panthers pulled out because they were playing in Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's right. We'll see what happens. I do think, though, I mean, the bookies have got Broncos at $1.15 or something stupid. It looks like they're going to be specials, the Broncos tomorrow morning. And your lead type odds.
Even he wouldn't get on that one, Paul.
No. But I think that they have too much class. I will be interested broadly to see what happens with the pain and ass effect on the Broncos. This year, I think it'll be quite destabilising having one of their best players taking off. There might be some issues there with the Broncos, and I'll give another tip away. I'm not tipping them to win it this year.
All right, Paul, the pre-season challenge, not going to look very closely at the results, but a couple of eyebrow raisers. The Cowboys running in 12 tries and scoring 66 points against the Panthers.
Yes, I saw that. I don't think the Panthers had too many regulars out there. I don't have high hopes for the Cowboys this year. I actually enjoy the pre-season while they can. There's some real issues there, but they look good on the day.
West Tigers scored 8 tries and 42 points against the Roosters. Now, admittedly, the Roosters had probably a third string side in, but do you see the West Tigers as being a bit of a smoky for this season?
Yeah, again, I don't want to give too much away, but I've got them around the 8. I think that they will overachieve this year. The Tigers, they're starting to get some connections together and some talent there. Most of all, Professor, they want to win for that coach. So that's always a big one. They love him.
And your Rabbitohs winning against the Dragons 28-24 get to take the shield home.
And it was about a 4th string team for the Rabbitohs. I thought, surprised Reggie Rabbit didn't run out to have a crack at the dummy half, but it was a very bad performance from the Dragons. And I hate to say it to our regular listener, Kevin Yap, but there could be something coming his way from the draw, and it's Mayala Wood. But we'll see. I think a couple of teams might be in the running for that spoon, but they were terrible, really bad at the Dragons. I'm worried about them this year, how bad they'll be.
Some questions from the fans. Paul, we posted a few shorts during the week. One went back to episode 1, where you were agreeing with 3 parties, or 4 if you counted the agents. One of our viewers said, for goodness sake, pick a side.
Well, that's it, but I guess I have to be neutral on some things, and I'll use the old lines before the court. So perhaps we don't want to make a finding in advance, but if it was that simple to sort out that scenario, I'm sure an agreement would have been reached. Money talks, as they say. And the lawyers would have talked as well. If you include us in that group, they can certainly talk. So the fact that no one's worked this out perhaps shows there's many sides to this conundrum.
Another of our viewers said, when you were talking about Nico Hines putting on weight and that you stated you're built like a 2-iron with ears, they said they looked at the videos. Yes, Paul needs to put on weight. What have you got to say about that?
Well, the sons are worried about the dad bod, so they can't both be right. Anyway, we'll see what happens. I'm keeping an eye on the waistline, but thank you for the suggestion. Welcome for any Deliveroo late night at the office. If anyone wants to send a carb-heavy meal in, more than happy to demolish it. Even on air, Professor, I could even talk with a mouthful, I think.
And finally, Paul, when we were talking about Origin crossing the ditch, one of our viewers said, it's amazing for New Zealand, but does it really belong there?
Yes, it does. And I'll compare it to have a look how excited everyone is about the NFL coming to Australia. There are new markets for games, and this is a market that's already established with rugby league pedigree, passion, and pride in the jersey, which is what you need for a warm environment for this game. That's going to be an absolute showstopper there. I think it's just as worthy New Zealand as Melbourne, if not more. As much as we love our game, New Zealand loves it. So they're not part of it. Obviously, not being in New Zealand, in New South Wales or Queensland, but it's a great forum, and it will be a massive match there. They'll be standing room only at where they play that.
Paul, the real stuff only a week away, and in next week's program, I don't think I'm giving anything away, your season preview.
Yes, and I have a surprise top, a Professor, which I got it right last year without any trumpet blowing. I've got a surprise for you. So let's see what happens next week when we unveil it.
I'll look forward to it, Paul. That's all from the Scrum Feed for this week. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you. See you.